September 8th, 1944. A rocket falls on London from the edge of space. No warning, no defense. 2 people die for every one that lands. July 16th, 1969. A different rocket lifts off from Florida. 3 men ride it to the moon. It is 363 feet tall. It weighs more than 6 million pounds. The world watches it climb. Both rockets were built by the same man. His name was Wernher von Braun. On August 15, 1944, he wrote a letter. He said he had gone to Buchenwald himself to pick prisoners for his factory. On July 16, 1969, he stood inside NASA control and watched his new rocket fly. The government knew that letter existed. It hid it. Take that one fact and add the next one. More than 1,600 German scientists were given new American identities after the war. Hundreds were ardent Nazis. This is the story of the paperclip that held 2 files together. One was the lie. Go back to the summer of 1943. Picture Peenemünde on the Baltic coast. Concrete bunkers, test stands, engineers in uniform. Wernher von Braun is 31. He runs the Army rocket program. His rocket is called the A4. Later the world knows it as the V-2. It is 46 feet long. It flies faster than sound. It carries a 1-ton warhead. On the night of August 17, 1943, British bombers hit Peenemünde. Nearly 600 aircraft. The test facility burns. Hitler is furious. He gives a new order. Build it underground where no bomber can reach it. Within days, officers find a place, a hill called the Kohnstein outside Nordhausen in central Germany. Inside the hill is a huge tunnel system. It was dug as a fuel reserve for the Reich. Now it becomes a factory. Its name is Mittelwerk, Central Works. It will be run by the SS. On August 28, 1943, the SS sends 107 prisoners from Buchenwald to the tunnels. They have no bunks, no light, no toilets. They sleep inside the tunnels on the stone. They breathe dust and diesel. They drill and blast for 12 hours, then 12 more. By November, 2,000 prisoners are inside. By Christmas, 8,000. They are French, Polish, Russian. They wear striped cloth. Many wear no shoes. In winter, the temperature is near freezing. The tunnels never stop working. The dead are carried out each morning. Count the numbers. About 60,000 prisoners will pass through this system. It is called Mittelbau-Dora. About 20,000 will die there. That is 1 in 3. 350 will be hanged. 200 of them for sabotage. A small wire placed wrong can destroy a rocket. The SS hangs the man from a crane inside the tunnel so everyone watches. Wernher von Braun visits this place at least 12 times. He later calls conditions repulsive. He says he never saw a beating. He says he never saw a death. On May 6, 1944, he sits in a meeting with the factory manager. They discuss bringing 1,800 skilled French prisoners to speed production. He writes the letter on August 15th. He goes to Buchenwald to select them. The rockets still get built. More than 5,000 V-2s will be assembled in that hill. You will think you know why this happened. You will say it was the Cold War. You need to hear how neat that story sounds. Early 1945, Germany collapses. America and the Soviet Union race to grab the scientists. If we do not take them, the Russians will. That is the story the army told itself. It is not false. It happened. On the night of October 22, 1946, the Soviets run Operation Osoaviakim. They take more than 2,200 German specialists, plus 6,000 family members in one night. Trucks, trains, whole labs moved. The fear in Washington is real. Rockets mean delivery for atomic bombs. Jets mean air power. Chemicals mean nerve gas. The Joint Chiefs of Staff write a memo in 1945. They call German scientists chosen, rare minds. They say they are vital to win the next war. So the army creates a plan. At first, it is called Operation Overcast. Then the name changes. You have seen this told as a regretful choice. Hard times need hard choices. But that story hides the timing. In September 1946, President Harry Truman signs a directive. He approves bringing German scientists. He also sets a wall. No person found to have been a member of the Nazi Party and more than a nominal participant. No active supporter of Nazi militarism. No war criminals. That is written down. The agencies read it. They decide to break it. Picture the room where the files are kept. Each scientist has a dossier, paper, photos. Interrogations. Some say SS, some say war crimes. A clerk decides which pile each file goes in. If the file says SS, a paperclip is put on it. That is literally where the name comes from. Paperclip means trouble. Trouble means fix the file. Officers in the Joint Intelligence Objectives Agency take those files and rewrite them. They remove the word SS. They change member to non-member. They delete the Buchenwald letter. They delete Mittelwerk. They send the clean file to the State Department for a visa. The dirty file stays locked. About 1,600 men will come between 1945 and 1959. More than 1,000 will become American citizens. The Soviet threat does not explain that part. Both sides took scientists. Only one side pretended they were never Nazis. Now take the three men who show how the system worked. Start with the man who built the hill. He is not von Braun. He is the operations director for V-2 production at Mittelwerk. His name is Arthur Rudolph. He joins the Nazi Party in 1931. Early, he runs production inside the tunnels. He walks past prisoners working 18-hour shifts. He watches the crane where men are hanged. After the war, he writes nothing about it. American officers interview him. His file says Nazi. A paperclip goes on it. The JIOA rewrites it. The new file says he was never more than nominal. He sails to America. He goes to Fort Bliss in 1945 with von Braun's team. 118 Germans are there that winter. They live behind a fence near El Paso. They rebuild V-2s at White Sands. They teach American soldiers how to fire them. Later, he moves to Huntsville. He will manage the Saturn V program. His rockets will lift Apollo. Second, picture the doctor who promised plague. His specialty is biological weapons. His name is Kurt Blome. He is Hitler's top biowarfare scientist. He tests disease on prisoners at Ravensbrück. He works on pest weapons. In 1947, the U.S. Army hires him under Operation Paperclip via Operation Alsos, lists translated from Bonn University toilet. The file says he was involved in human experiments. A paperclip goes on it. The agency cleans it. He gets a contract at Camp Detrick in Maryland. He advises on germ warfare for the United States. Third, picture the chemist who made the gas. His name is Otto Ambros. He helped run the chemical complex at Auschwitz. His company makes Buna rubber with slave labor. Thousands die. At Nuremberg, he is tried and convicted for slavery and mass murder. He gets 8 years. In 1951, he is released early under High Commissioner John McCloy. Pressure from West Germany and the new Cold War helps free him. He later consults for American chemical companies. No paperclip needed there, just a shortened sentence. These are not mistakes. They are the method. You ask, how did they get away with whitewashing? The answer is custody. The directive says temporary, limited military custody. The men are not immigrants. They are military contractors. Immigration law is bypassed. Security officers control the dossiers. Few outside the JIOA see the original. Journalists in 1946 discover the program. Headlines call them Nazi scientists. The army denies they are ardent. The files now support the denial. Put von Braun back in the center where the government put him. He is the proof of the story they wanted to tell. He is young. He is handsome. He speaks good English. He tells Americans he had to join the party. The record says he joined the Nazi Party on May 1, 1937. He says he had to join the SS in the spring of 1940. A colonel named Mueller comes from Greifswald with an order from Himmler. His boss at the army, Colonel Walter Dornberger, tells him not to make waves. He accepts the rank of Untersturmführer, membership number 18568. The SS gives him 3 promotions. The last is in June 1943 to Sturmbannführer. That is the rank of major. He wears the uniform. He later tells American interrogators he wore it only once. The files say otherwise. What matters more is what he did with that rank. On his orders and his visits, the tunnels keep building. The V-2 itself kills. More than 3,000 are fired. About 1,400 fall on Britain. Most hit London. An estimated 2,754 civilians are killed there. Another 6,523 are injured. About 570 explode in Antwerp, where 1,700 die. Antwerp is the Allies' main port. The rocket is inaccurate. 2 people die per rocket on average. That is the combat toll. Now add it up. Show the viewer the other column. Of roughly 60,000 who pass through Mittelbau-Dora, about 20,000 die. Historian Michael Neufeld calculates at least 10,000 of those deaths belong to the V-2 program in the first year. Other counts put the labor deaths at 20,000. Either number dwarfs the battlefield deaths. Twice as many people die making the weapon as are killed by it. The Army knows this before he sails. In August 1945, he is taken with his brother Magnus to Garmisch. He surrenders to Americans. He is moved to Paris, then to Newcastle Army Airfield in Delaware, then Fort Strong in Boston, then Aberdeen Proving Ground to sort 300 boxcars of blueprints, then Fort Bliss. Look at the date. May 1945, the war ends. September 1945, he is on U.S. soil. The directive that bans ardent Nazis is not signed until September 1946. The cleanup starts before the law exists. By the time the law exists, the team is already here. Follow the trucks to the desert. Then follow them to Alabama. At Fort Bliss, the Germans work under a contract. The pay is not yet citizenship. The rule says limited military custody. They cannot quit. They cannot leave. They teach captured V-2s to American teams. The first launch of a V-2 on American soil is at White Sands. The data goes to the Army. In 1949, the Chief of Ordnance picks a new home, Redstone Arsenal in Huntsville, Alabama. A cotton town building small rockets and chemical weapons. On April 1, 1950, the whole operation moves. Von Braun plus more than 130 Germans. Families, children, furniture. Huntsville goes from 16,000 people to a rocket city. Marshall Space Flight Center is carved out of Redstone on July 1, 1960. Von Braun is its first director. He will lead it from 1960 to 1970. Under him, the Redstone rocket is built, then the Jupiter, then the Juno. The first American in space, Alan Shepard, rides a Redstone, then the project that hides all sins, the Saturn V. Picture it. 3 stages, 5 F-1 engines on the first stage. Each burns 15 tons of fuel per second. The rocket is 363 feet tall, taller than the Statue of Liberty. It has more than 3 million parts made by 20,000 companies. At full thrust, it makes 7.5 million pounds of push. On July 16, 1969, at 9:32 in the morning, Apollo 11 leaves Pad 39A at Kennedy Space Center. Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, Michael Collins. The machine that lifts them was drawn, tested, and justified by men who had learned mass production inside a mountain with slave labor. The Army knew. NASA knew. The publicity department does the opposite of the files. It puts von Braun on television. He writes in Collier's. He is on Disney with Walt explaining space travel to children. The magazine covers never mention Mittelwerk. They never mention Dora. They show the man in a suit with a slide rule. Houston families get invited to barbecues in Huntsville where the Germans bring cakes and speak English with accents. The city renames a street. The rocket that cannot be built without terror is filmed as pure wonder. That split is not an accident. The paperclip held, one file for history, one for export. You are right to push back. Say it ruder than politely. So what if we use Nazis? The Soviets used them too. Better we had them than Moscow. If von Braun stayed in Germany, he might have built rockets for Stalin. That is not wrong. Stalin wanted the same men. The Cold War was not a seminar. Pilots in 1952 faced Soviet MiGs built with German help. Missile gaps were measured in months. A V-2 team could save years. 1 year saved in 1955 is leverage over Berlin. Is that worth a lie on a dossier? Many inside the Joint Intelligence Objectives Agency said yes. And here is where the skeptic is right, and you must grant it. Many of the 1,600 were not criminals. Some were young engineers who joined the party to keep a job. Some never saw a camp. Some worked on propellers or optics. The 1,600 number mixes the guilty and the merely useful. The moral case cannot throw all of them into Dora. That is sloppy history. The sharper case does not need it. Keep it on the few who mattered most. Von Braun is not an average case. He was SS. He picked prisoners. Arthur Rudolph ran the factory that used them. Kurt Blome ran human experiments. Those 3 alone would have failed Truman's test. The JIOA knew it. They scrubbed exactly those lines, so the defense that most were harmless misses the point. The program was not judged by its average. It was judged by its protected top. And the lie was not passive, Officers in the agency wrote to the Department of Justice that searches showed no evidence of Nazi activity for men whose files they had just cleaned. They created the evidence of innocence. Ask what that does to a legal system that at the same moment prosecutes camp guards at Dachau and Nuremberg. While one set of prosecutors hangs 15 Dora guards at Essen, another set of officers files paperwork to make the production manager of Dora a U.S. citizen. Both actions carry the seal of the United States. You can defend the missiles. You cannot defend the perjury. The cover-up made America prosecute in the morning and forge in the afternoon. Now walk the tunnel one more time and stop talking about strategy. The air is cold. Water drips. The prisoners sleep in the side tunnels called Schlafstollen. No beds. They lie on the rock where they drilled that day. A man coughs until he cannot breathe. A guard walks with a dog. You hear the crane. You are told this built the future. Now you know it buried it too. In 1979, a young investigator named Eli Rosenbaum finds a file at the archives. He reads about Arthur Rudolph. He sees the word Mittelwerk. He sends a letter. In 1984, the Justice Department opens a hearing. Rudolph does not fight. He gives up his citizenship and leaves for Hamburg. He dies in 1996 without a trial. The government never puts von Braun on that stand. His dossier is still not fully public. His letter about Buchenwald sits in a box. The rocket stands in Huntsville as a monument. Ask this: if the bargain was worth it in 1946, why did the files have to be forged?